and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another 24/7 news report. The headline news today comes from Give Me Sport, and that's that Everton and Leeds are both interested in signing Manor Solomon this summer. Solomon's currently on loan at Leeds and has 7 goals and 8 assists in 29 games for Leeds, who are currently at the top of the Championship, I believe, after a big win against Sheffield United. Tottenham would be willing to accept between £10 and £15 million, and Solomon himself has accepted that he has no future in North London. It's an interesting one because Leeds are probably going to be very interested, and it probably does depend on what Solomon wants, really. He's quite unproven in the Premier League, but I do remember him being quite good for, I believe it was Shakhtar Donetsk, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Everton are desperate for a winger, and Jarrad Harrison is going to be going back to Leeds. I can imagine Leeds are going to be desperate to unpack Harrison and to get rid of him to us, really, to probably make it easier to sign Solomon, but us sending Harrison back, putting another winger on their books that they're going to struggle to get rid of while we try sign Solomon, it's probably a good idea. I'm not against it. I think it'd be a good signing for that cheap. And yeah, that's it really. Next report comes from Diarrheo AS on Twitter, and that's that Real Madrid remain keen on signing Jarrad Branthwaite, but are reluctant to meet Everton's £62 million valuation of the 22-year-old centre-back. I've said this a million times, I don't care. If the club isn't willing to meet our valuation, we don't negotiate down with them. Plus, £62 million way too little. I know we say this all the time, but Harry Maguire went for £80 million. Branthwaite is younger than Harry Maguire was at the time and probably better than he ever was at Leicester. I don't think that's a controversial opinion, really. I think Branthwaite is genuinely one of the better centre-backs in the Premier League, and if he didn't play for a team like us, he'd be getting much more plaudits, which is weird considering we're up there for clean sheets in the league, so it's one of those where it's a bit of an interesting one. He's had a few slip-ups, don't get me wrong, but every young centre-back's going to, but he's got all the physical tools. He's played plenty of football. He has experience playing European football with PSV, so yeah, we shouldn't be accepting anything less than 80, to be honest with you. 70, 80 million would be what we're asking for, not 62 million. If it's 80 million euros, at the end of the day, it is what it is, but I think we should be going for £80 million, and hopefully with all the interest we could get a bidding war going, because Liverpool, Manchester United and Tottenham will all battle to try sign Branthwaite in the summer, according to Court Offside. Never a chance with Liverpool, and realistically Tottenham and Man United look like two teams who are going to finish around the same position as us in the league right now. Again, it's one of those where if Spurs finish 12th, or let's say Spurs finish 8th and Man United finish 10th, why would he leave for one of them? You know, it's that. I think that's the one where if he goes to Spurs or United, that's because they're offering him a ridiculous pay packet and offering us a load of money, and I just don't see Liverpool. I think Real Madrid are probably the most likely, or another team like Chelsea maybe comes out of the shadows to try sign him. I don't really know, but it's one of those where I don't know. I just can't see any of those teams mentioned in the Court Offside one happening, to be honest, unless they are really willing to spend that money on Branthwaite, or possibly try to offer us Harry Maguire back or something. I don't really know what they try to do, but we'll have to see. Speaking of Manchester United, they will have a limited transfer budget this summer, so that rules them out for Jarrad Branthwaite, and are keeping a look at free agents, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin one of the many targets they are considering. Team talk again. I like Calvert-Lewin. I always have a soft spot in my heart for those Ancelotti years, where he turned into a real goal scorer, but he's not a loss. To be brutally honest, if Beto can keep up his form, and then we have a young striker like Chimiti in the works, and probably might still sign someone in the summer as well, Calvert-Lewin's just not that big of a loss, and it's not something where I'm going to really turn my head because he goes to Manchester United. You know, he's fallen upwards. Good luck for him. You know, it's one of those where it doesn't really bother me too much. I won't hold any ill will to Calvert-Lewin, but at the same time, I don't care that he's gone, sort of thing. So it's one of those where we'll have to see, but I just don't really think it's one where it's going to be the end of the world if he leaves, to be honest with you. I think it'll just be one where the club moves on and he probably doesn't perform very well at Manchester United and then ends up in like Italy or something. Moving on, according to Graham Bailey of TVR Football, Everton are reportedly interested in signing Marseille winger Luis Enrique, but could face competition from Newcastle for his signature this summer. Newcastle and Nottingham Forest are also keeping tabs on the 23-year-old situation with a view of a permanent swoop in the summer. Henrique is an interesting one because he's more of a left back, and to be brutally honest, I got him confused with the lad who just moved to Zenit, but I think he was from Lyon, so I was a bit confused there. But if you look, he's got I think it's 7 goals and 4 or 5 assists. I think it's Yeah, 7 goals, 4 assists in Liga in this season, but that's from a really low XG, and his X assists are around the same. But I feel like if you overperform your XG by that much, it isn't gonna. I'm not a massive proprietor for XG, but it's not gonna last. And he is a left back by trade. He could be one of those where he offers something similar to like an Alex Grimaldo for Leverkusen, where he's a left back but offers much more in the attacking sense. And I think that could really help. I do think Mikalenko's been good, but I still do think there's an upgrade path in that position, and I wouldn't mind bringing someone like Enrique in. His tackling numbers are still pretty decent from what I remember for a full-back. No, never mind, his tackling numbers are terrible, but that is because he is playing on the wing now, so it's one of those where if he's playing in more of a full-back, wing-back position, it probably would improve. And yeah, I just think he's maybe not someone we should be bringing in to sign on the wing, considering how bad his underlying stats are in Liga. They look like they could only get worse in the Premier League, to be honest. But it is one, if he's going to play left back, maybe it would be a little bit better. The next bit of news comes from Team Talk as well, and that's that Everton can sign Napoli loanee Jesper Lindstrom if they trigger the £18.5 million buy option, and sources state that they are considering doing so. There is less certainty surrounding Harrison though, as his loan deal doesn't include a buy option. A decision will be made on him. No to both of them, if I'm going to be completely honest. Lindstrom is a bit unlucky. He should probably have a few assists this season, and that's one of those where I do think that's not all his fault, but the end product's not very good. The work rate's great, and he does do well to get into positions, but for £18.5 million, I think we can get much better than Lindstrom, to be honest with you. And I don't feel we should be wasting money because he has more familiarity with the squad. It is one where if he can keep it going and have a really good end to the season, then I'm not against it, but I'd need to see major improvement in these next 3 or 4 months to even probably consider that a possibility. And Harrison is just... He's just gotten worse and worse during his time at Everton. He's had his moments under Moyes where he's looked okay, but unless we're signing him for 5 million, that are genuinely for anything more than 10 million, we shouldn't sign him for. I don't think we should sign him for 10 million. If I'm being brutally honest with you, it's one of those where he's a decent squad option, but unless we can get him for pennies, I just don't see a point bringing him in, to be honest with you. And the last bit of news is some team news going into the Brentford game, and that's that David Moyes says a few players, including Jesper Lindstrom, have been affected by illness, but are now all fine. I believe he mentioned Timmy Roberham as well as one of the players. Nathan Patterson, who injured his hamstring, has also returned to training, but tomorrow night's game at Brentford will come too soon for him. So I expect Lindstrom back in the lineup, and Patterson is probably going to be in for the game after Brentford by the looks of it. But that is all the news for today. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed, and follow me on Twitter at Callum Branham3. And I'll see you all for the next video and our live stream that I am on.